On today's episode of the Film Breakdown Show, we talk Dallas Cowboys offense. And again, they got Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, but I also think their offense is really well designed. We're going to talk about why here in a second. We talk about how to beat man coverage. Travis Kelce gives a masterclass on his sail route in this clip. Talk about their zone coverage, and I do think we have an advantage here in some cases. We just got to let the ball go. It all starts right now. Welcome to the Film Breakdown Show. I'm Logan Paulson here with Just the Guy Jason. As always, we're in the Big Bear AI Command Center studio. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays from us on the Film Breakdown Show. We really appreciate you watching, tuning in. Thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun to do. So we're going to break down the Dallas Cowboys. Let's start with this first play because I think this offense is really well organized, really well thought out. And I think this first play kind of exemplifies that. They're going to run what I would call a dagger concept. It's going to be a 15-yard in. We're going to run a through by the tight end. We're going to motion this guy across. He's going to kind of chip and then late get to the flat. But there's a couple things I want to point out here as we're kind of watching through this. So first off, great job with the protection. They're kind of running like a mid-zone concept here. You can tell because the back is aiming for the outside leg of the tight end. And then watch Dak Prescott with the ball fake. Great job going from under center. And look at what it does to these linebackers, right? Look at these linebackers step toward the run. They have to respect the run fake. Look at the space that's created behind them. Look at this big void here right behind them, right there, boom. And it's a really great job of creating space with the run action and creating space with the concept. You can see this guy in the through here. He's holding this safety. It ensures the throw. This guy has to respect the vertical route here. And really, you end up getting a one-on-one route concept with George Pickens versus a man outside leverage breaking into this window right over the middle of the field. Now, everyone says, what about this guy under here? What about Cooper DeJean? What holds him? That would be the tight end getting out to the flat late. Watch as Cooper DeJean has to gain a little bit of width with that guy. And again, look at this throwing lane here. This is exactly what we want, right down the pipe to the player. And then I think the DB actually makes a decent play on the football here, but this also shows what a beast George Pickens is. So everyone runs dagger. Literally everyone runs it. I think when you look at the end zone, you get to see some of the details that they're executing with. So first off, let's take a look at the protection. So great job with the ball fake. We're going to reverse out. You see the quarterback reverse out. He's hiding the football from the defense. They can't see it. They can't see it. Ball's out. Does the back have it? Great job with the ball fake. Awesome job right here on the front side. We're going to combo. We're going to help the tight end out. I'm always a big fan of helping the tight end out in pass protection because that's one of the hardest jobs in all of football. And let's look at the backside here. So when I used to run this protection, used to run the dagger, this guy would release. And this guy, which was Logan Paulson, would have to stay in and block this guy for 3.5 seconds, which is tough because this guy is one of the better pass rushers on the football team, right? So what they do here, which I like a lot, and the New England Patriots used to do it back when I played, but I think you're starting to see more and more of this type of offensive execution, is instead of having the tight end have to stay in, watch what they do. Watch what they do. They have the center chip and then spin out and really become the secondary protector for the tight end. So the tight end chips, kind of loses late, center's there. So not only does that help your worst pass protector in the tight end, it also, watch what it lets you do here when we get to the wide, it lets you get more eligibles out. Remember we talked about Cooper DeJean and why he has to push to the wide to the flat? It's because, watch the tight end, he chips and then he has to push to the flat. If he just stayed there in pass protection, Cooper DeJean would just drop straight back and be directly in the throwing window. But this to me shows an understanding of how to stress defenses. We want to create a good comprehensive protection that's good versus 4 down rushers, and we want to create good throwing windows, and we want to get as many eligibles out to the concept as we possibly can. I think this is really smart. The other thing I like about it is we're in 13 personnel, and a lot of times people have base checks versus 13 personnel, which they do here. So I just think all around, the depth of the route, the timing, the execution, it leads to an easy pitch and catch for the quarterback, Dak Prescott. Now, the other thing I want to point out here while I've got your guys' attention is great route by Pickens. This ball is a touch high, but this is the thing that separates good offenses or great offenses from good offenses, is when you have a horse on the perimeter that can make this type of play for you, like it gets you out of a lot of bad stuff. So this is not a perfect throw. And again, this could have been a missed opportunity for them here, but you got a guy like George Pickens who's going to rise up and catch that football at a high level. Let's take a look and see if it's on the end zone copy here for you. Because again, it's a nice catch, but this is what makes them good. The ball fake, the timing, the protection, everyone's locked in, and I'm going to rip a strike. It's a little off, but my guy's going to jump up and make me right and make a contested catch. That is big time football there.
Tell me what 13 personnel is, and then why a defense base checks, and what is a base check?
Yeah, okay, so 13 personnel just means you have one back, boom, and you have 1, 2, 3 tight ends. And so obviously one back, 3 tight ends, you'd have one more wide receiver.
So if you had 2 tight ends, 2 running backs, it'd be 22.
22, that's exactly right. And so some people might call this 22. Like right now, 13 and 22 personnel are starting to mix because tight ends tend to be your fullback. Obviously, Dallas has their own fullback, so they actually do have 21, 22, and 13 personnel. So the reason you base check to 13 personnel is because of all the gaps you get in the run game. So if you look here, like let's finish it up here, right? Boom, let's pause. Let's go to the end zone and pause it right there for you, Jason. So when we pause it here, look at all the gaps we have to deal with. We have to deal with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 gaps. That's a little bit unusual here in terms of bodies we have to account for, right? So a lot of times teams will base check to cover 3. They'll base check to, I don't know, some type of aggressive run fitting quarters. And a big reason for it is to help you account for all these gaps. And you can do that because a lot of teams aren't that explosive out of 13 personnel. They don't have great pass catching tight ends. They don't have tight ends that can set the seam. But I do think this also shows that, again, they have a lot of really athletic tight ends. They've got good tight ends. They've got a big blocker here in Brevin Spann-Ford. They've got Ferguson who can push the seam. And obviously, like if you can push the seam at the tight end spot and create some vertical space in the defense, you can create space for the dig coming in behind you. But yeah, this to me looks like they got into some type of cover 3, maybe cover 6. And the reason I'd say cover, and this is the other thing too, when you get tight ends and you get a nub, right? You get this type of coverage contour, right? You get the half player here, half player, or the flat player here. He's kind of in the box because he becomes a run fit player. And so look at how the coverage distributes in 13 personnel. Look at where these guys are at. You see them? See how close they are to the line of scrimmage? A big part of that is because of the personnel choice you make, right? So all of those things tell me that this offense is well thought out, well executed. And again, it's Dak Prescott's playing really well. George Pickens is playing really well. CeeDee Lamb's playing really well. But I think the offense also supports them at a really high level. Now, another play that kind of I think also shows this is what I would call a wheezy run. This is what Kyle Shanahan used to call it. So it's a weak side run, but the tight end's on the front side. So basically what you do is you're going to get your normal weak side rules. He's going to block out. They're going to double team here. They're going to double team here. You're going to book this backside player there. And so now we got the tight end to the front side. How do we handle this blocking surface? Let's check it out. The tight end's going to kind of take a jab step out. Jab at the guy. See what that does to the defensive end? This is really subtle here, Jason, but I don't know if you can see it. He's going to take a jab step at the end man line of scrimmage. Just see if we can get it here. He's going to jab out. See how it kind of makes the defensive end kind of pause for a second? It makes the kick out block a little bit easier for the tackle. Kick out, we're able to create a nice seam. I'm able to work up, get to the second level. Boom, there. And then look what I'm able to do. And we always talk about leveraging double teams. This is what I'm exactly talking about. This is great leverage to block this backside player. This angle right here for the tight end is great leverage to block this player, Zach Bond, right there. This is exactly, when I think of a run scheme, this is exactly what I want. They've done this through, let's get to the wide real quick. Let's make sure that I'm confirming this, through formation. So this is the run strength over here, Jason. This over here is the passing strength, okay? So what are they going to do? They're going to kind of shade ever so slightly to the passing strength because people like to throw the football. And so when you get to the end zone, like they were able through formation and run call, run design to create a really good angles for everybody involved. Do you see that? How the linebackers are plussed over? Now, this is the other thing. Watch our guy here. He's coming down in the run fit. This is the other thing I love about a well-designed run scheme, Jason, is when the receivers understand how urgent they have to be to get blocks in the run game. Like that's not a thunderous block by any stretch of the imagination, but the defensive back has to negotiate with that player. And look what you get. You get really good leverage on blocks. Awesome job through the design of the run. You get well-targeted runs, right? And then you get the back who understands how to press. Watch him press the heels. I always say press the heels of the offensive lineman. Why do you ask? Why do you do that? You may ask. And here's the answer. It's because now everyone has to sink and be patient to their gap. See this guy, how he's peeking over here? He cannot peek back into this gap until the back declares. The back is on the offensive lineman's butt before he declares, right? Boom, excellent job, right? Excellent job. Great job. And then the other thing I love here is the ball fake. Under center ball fake, ball's out. We're going to boot. It holds the backside guys just enough. You see these guys on the perimeter? We always talk about doing it off a zone read because we see that a lot with the Commanders offense. Watch this boot hold these guys just enough so the back can get downhill for a big gain here. So when I see this, I say they've got the great play action pass game. They've got a great understanding of run concept, like how through formation I can manipulate linebackers. Let's go back to the top just so we can see it one more time. If they were playing bounce this formation, Zach Bond would stay over here someplace, right? But they understand the passing strength. They're going to push over this way a little bit. He's going to be the run support player from depth. And as a run game coordinator, if I see this, I say, man, this Wheezy call is going to be great. So everyone talks about disguising coverages for pass concepts. I also think there's a benefit in this case to disguising coverages on rundowns as well, to put those guys in good positions to be successful. So that's a quick look at the Dallas Cowboys and what they do on offense. Now, let's talk about what they do on the defensive side of the football. So they are a little bit of a mishmash hodgepodge. They've kind of lost their identity a little bit. But this is what they look like when they play man coverage. We're going to get man here. Boom, boom. He's going to run with this guy in man. We're going to man the point here. I think it's this player. Let's see. I think it's him right there. And then this guy's going to play man on the slot. So when you're playing man coverage, obviously it helps to have a formation or motion indicator. So when this guy runs across and you see this guy running with, it's like, okay, this is probably man. As the receiver, I'm thinking the same thing. So how do you beat man coverage? And you're not going to get a better example of how to beat man coverage on a route than from our guy Travis Kelce here. So when everyone on paper, this route is probably drawn like this. Boom, boom, boom to the spot. He's going to run a flat. I think this guy runs the flat. This guy runs the pylon, okay? That's what it looks like on paper. Very straightforward. Travis Kelce makes this route come to life. So when people talk to me about what makes Zach Ertz so special, or Ben Sinnott, how can he improve as a route runner? This is the type of stuff I'm talking about. Take a look. So watch him. The subtleties here are great. He pushes forward, right? Pushes vertical. Then he declares across the formation. Watch what the defender does to that body language, right? He says, okay, I know what he's doing. He's going to run an in-breaking route. This is the next thing. Let's get to the end zone, Jason, so you can just see how cool this is. Watch. He's going to push up, push vertical, then push across. With this stem, I'm thinking, hey, if I'm the defender, he's running across the formation. Watch this subtle little nuance here. So they do this thing when you run a route where you push vertical, you push in. And if I'm running across the formation, I'm going to do this thing called the stair step. I'm going to go here, boom, and I'm going to break across. Watch Kelce here do a subtle stair step. You see that, Jason? Kind of do that like little head fake basketball weave there. Little inside, outside, back to outside, boom. And watch him break leverage of the defender. When I mean break leverage, usually when you have a guy like with outside leverage on you, there's an inside player who's offering help in coverage. So let's take a look. It's, who is it? I guess there's none. They're playing straight. It's a 5-man rush. So we're okay here. So usually there's a guy, like there's a place you can't get beat. So what I would say is this is your inside player. He can help you inside. He can rally to anything coming across the field. You, as a defender, don't want to get beat out here to all this grass. But Travis is so good at this. Talked to him a little bit at Tynan University a couple years ago. Watch this. He comes up, runs his route, understands I know how to break this guy's leverage, bop, bop, double stick, and then I get out in space to the perimeter. That is how you win versus man-to-man coverage. It's not always the concept. Sometimes it's the seasoning you sprinkle on the route concept. So that's how they run man, and they got a bunch of guys on their defense who are fine man players, but nobody's great. And so I think we have a bunch of guys who can win these types of matchups. What's up, Jason?
So we don't have Travis Kelce,
no.
And unfortunately Zach Ertz is out.
Yep.
So who's our route technician that can route these guys up in man coverage that we can look for on Christmas?
I think the great thing is that anybody can do this. Like it's a learned skill, right? But the guys that I've seen that do it at a high level, obviously Terry does this at a high level, and Deebo Samuel's the guy that in last week's game against Philly kind of took on a lot of these responsibilities in terms of, hey, I'm going to run the sail. I'm going to run the little choice route. I'm going to run the dig. Look to Deebo maybe as the guy that's going to take on some of those opportunities. And I think he could beat this guy in coverage. It's just a little bit of nuance you get there, which is always fun to see.
When do you start to learn this in your career, Logan? Like these little subtle new, is it like something that it's like you can learn coming right in, or are you so concerned with like getting to the right spot that you're not thinking about those details yet? Like when do you start to add the little seasoning here in a career?
It's a great question because I think a lot of people, let's go back to the beginning, they see, like if I'm giving you an install, Jason, it looks like this. You're going to push up, you're going to push in, then you're going to push out. This guy's going to run a pylon. It's going to look like this. It's all what I would say straight lines. But football is not played on straight lines. And I remember when I was a rookie here, Kyle Shanahan was like, do not run the route like it's drawn on paper. And I did not understand what he was saying. I'm like, well, you want me to get to 14 yards? You want me to do this? You want me to do that? But it's the magic of telling a story leading up. And so Travis Kelce didn't run routes like this when he first got in the league. Zach Ertz didn't run routes like this. It's time on task, learning, constantly studying your craft. And you see certain guys like Brock Bowers is the unicorn, the exception. He comes in with great route running nuance, but Kyle Pitts took him 5 years, 4 years to get to that level. So everybody's a little bit different and everybody's skill set's a little bit different. Like Travis Kelce here is like kind of like slow playing this. He's not like sprinting off the ball, but he understands the tempo, the timing. There's so many things in his route right here that are so hard for people at home to understand because everyone says, oh, I got to run this as fast as they can. And they sprint out here and they sprint back. And it's like, no, sometimes you got a tempo. Sometimes you take an angle. Sometimes you use a double stick. And so when I see this kind of quiver of arrows that Travis Kelce has on this one route, that's taken years, probably close to a decade for him to develop this level of skill. And that's why it's so cool to see in this kind of type of moment. All right, let's talk about now. The other thing I want to touch on is just like, this is how I think that they're going to play us, quite honestly. If we get into a spread formation, right, they're up here at the top, boom, 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 receiver down here at the bottom. And look at how, like, this is a classic RPO look. I think there's a lot of similarities between Kansas City's offense and the Washington Commanders. We're going to get a run over here, kind of just a Wanda, so weak side zone with the tackle blocking out down here. And we're going to read the RPO. We're going to get a little bubble. So when we're reading an RPO, all we're doing is basically saying how many guys are over the read, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to throw this guy in there, 4. Do we have good numbers? Yes, we have excellent numbers because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 blockers in the surface. Let's hand this sucker off. Now, they can get to even numbers pretty quick if this guy comes down and makes this tackle here. But we talked about it with the Dallas clip. When you get receivers that play with urgency to block with physical violence, you give the running game an opportunity to be successful, right? Boom, and then we're out to the perimeter on a guy who doesn't want to tackle. That is what makes a good running game. It's just math. Can through formation, can through assignment, can through personnel, we create advantageous numbers, and then can we exploit it? In this case, Kansas City does a great job of doing that, man. This is a nice job. Break that tackle. Let's get going. Love to see it. So I do think there's an opportunity for us to run the ball in sub formations, but I do think we got to be aware of this specifically because in the last game that the Washington Commanders played is we'd get in this type of setup, they would blitz this guy, and for whatever reason, we weren't throwing the bubble. So just keep an eye on something. That's something we could maybe add to this game in terms of learning from our last matchup. All right, so now let's do their zone. We talked about man. We talked about their run game. This is something I think is really interesting because, again, this is a formation that we're in quite a bit. They're going to run basically a pull concept. So he's going to come up here. He's going to break out. He's going to come up here and sit, and I think he runs a hitch. And then you're going to get a dig by Travis Kelce. So watch the distribution here. Great job. This is exactly what you want. You see how this linebacker is attaching here, and you see how there's a throwing lane right here. This is what people talk about, like, you know, when they say full field reads or whatever this looks like, is just understanding the coverage at a basic level and then understanding what's going to cancel out. So I think, like, right here, it feels like Mahomes is trying to, like, anticipate something in particular. I think, like, if he just was able to get this read down to this guy right here and say, what does he do? Does he attach or does he back up? If he backs up, I throw the hitch. If he attaches, I throw the dig. He attaches, let's throw the dig, because this is open to me, and we can see it from the end zone here. So, like, I think the reason I put this on here, a couple things. One is their zone coverage is a little bit spotty. Do you see this? I think you can just barely see his hat right here at the bottom. But look at the space that Travis Kelce's running into. Like, why are we not throwing this ball right now with anticipation to grass? Do you see that, Jason? Like, that's what we need to be thinking about. Like, they are spot dropping. So we played Philly, we played Minnesota recently. They match concepts. So, like, they would say, oh, we're going to flood zones, do all this stuff. Like, they're dropping to spot, right? And if you do that, like, you can anticipate space. And so that's where I'd say, like, their zone is a little bit easier to throw against than the stuff we've seen the last couple of weeks. We just got to be confident with where we're throwing it. So I think we can win versus their man coverage. I think we can also win versus their zone, but we got to anticipate where the ball is going to go, which can be tough with a backup quarterback, guys that got a lot of reps.
Is there something that Dallas is doing here to make Mahomes a little confused? Because like you said, it does seem like a simple read. He's the best in the league. So what tripped him up here?
I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea. I really have no idea. Sometimes I think it's like the timing's a little bit off. I think he gets a little bit spooked here. I will say the two guys on the interior for them, these two guys, I don't know who this guy is, but definitely Odigizua, definitely Clark, and definitely Quinton Williams have done a really good job rushing from the interior. I think this pocket's clean. I think this ball should be out right now. I think he wants to throw it. I have no idea what's spooking him. And again, this is the mystery and magic of playing quarterback in the NFL. Whatever he's seeing right here, he doesn't love it. Ball, in my opinion, should be out. And again, it shows you the space they have in the defense. And I think, Jason, I think this pocket's pretty good, man, like, to my eye. So get that ball out, and let's make a big explosive play there. That's what I would say. So that's going to do it for today's film breakdown show. Again, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all those things. Really appreciate your support. And we'll see you next week.
Beat Dallas.
Beat Dallas. This show was filmed at the Big Bear AI Command Center studio. Big Bear AI offers mission-ready AI for a rapidly evolving world, proudly protecting the Washington Commanders and its fans.